And from Columbus, Ohio, I'm your host, Robb Dunewood.
And coming out of Philly, it's your girl Tech Life Steph.
And out of Atlanta, this is Terrance Gaines, aka Brother Tech, aka how's everybody doing tonight? I ain't no special AKA, just want to find out how everybody doing today.
You know what? I'm going to do an AKA then because my wife and I just celebrated 23 years
All right,
of
happy
marriage.
anniversary. Happy anniversary.
She renewed my contract.
Anniversary.
I just came off a vacation literally this morning. I have not been in my house 24 hours yet. And so, yeah, I've been working on my tan, y'all.
Nice.
Renewed
23.
the
Any
contract.
advice for the long haul?
Yeah. 50-50 in a marriage, don't get it. It better be 100 all the time. That's how you get through it. Because when 50-50 only work if y'all both 50 all the time. Sometimes I'm 20 and she 80. In fact, I would say usually I'm 20 and she 80. So we both try to just be 100. And that way there's always some overflow.
Sounds like good, solid advice.
Anyway, y'all, I'm glad that y'all put some stories in here because I was on vacation last week. I wasn't doing a lot of looking at tech. Before we get to it, though, I do want to remind all of our listeners that you can support the Tech Jawn by heading over to patreon.com/the Tech Jawn, where we have multiple tiers over there, any one of which gets you access to our live stream and after party. So like right now, we've got Wayne, we've got, let's see, Wayne is in there. Kaim is in there. I'm sure Saray will be showing up at some point. Charles will probably be showing up at some point. We get a group of people who ride with us darn near every single week while we record this show live. So if you'd like to actually come in and hang out with us while we record the show and then participate when we do the after party immediately following, head over to patreon.com/the Tech Jawn. That's the Tech JAWN. And with that, let's go ahead and jump into the tech. So the first one here was one that I actually did pay attention to, where Meta is yanking news from Facebook and Instagram in Canada. And I thought this was apropos just because this is something that they did before. Facebook has basically made a determination, unless you are a giant country, which Canada is not, we're not going to allow you to charge us for using your news services. If you guys remember back in 2021, Australia did this, where Australia passed some laws that basically said that Facebook, you now have to pay all of these news organizations for linking to their news articles. And Facebook was like, or how about we just don't?
So wait a minute, before you go, continue. Is Australia trying to penalize Facebook for users uploading links to stories, or are they talking about Facebook actually, whoever working at Facebook, content creators, community managers, whomever, is actually linking to news stories from Facebook proper, not necessarily me uploading a link about the latest iPhone?
I think it is a combination of both. It was that way with Australia. This case is with Canada. And essentially the reason they're doing it is because we've all heard and talked about stories about how the news organizations are losing revenue because instead of people going to their newssite.com to get the news, they just pull it right off of Facebook and just read it there, never even going to Facebook or going to the news site. So this news site isn't able to show ads. The news site isn't able to put you behind a paywall. They're not able to monetize their content. So Facebook is basically saying we don't really generate a lot of revenue off. And it's funny how they say we don't really generate a lot of revenue. They didn't say they didn't generate any, but they said they don't generate a lot of revenue off of linking to these news organizations. So instead of paying a fee in order to link to them, they will just no longer link to them. And I'm guessing that they will end up working something out like they did with Australia, like they've done with other countries. But they are consistent. Meta has been consistent about this. We're not going to pay you.
Explain it to me like I'm 5. What does that actually mean? Like it did, because if I was reading the articles correctly, they were saying that they weren't taking down the public pages of the news organizations necessarily.
Mhm.
But so what does that mean? They're not linking to the articles. Like what does
For
that actually mean?
my guess is when you are, say, I put a post up to The Verge about Meta removing websites or whatever, right? You click on that link from my profile, right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of it opening up in Safari, Google, Firefox, whatever, Facebook, and a lot of these companies do, well, mainly Meta, they've created their own browser
Their
to
own
where,
reader app for your
yeah, it
convenience.
opens up,
Oh,
but it's still in Facebook and you're reading it from
right,
Facebook. Facebook has made their own browser
right,
and you're reading
right.
it there without ever going to The Verge at all. And I guess this is me
Ah.
guessing. Verge is like, not The Verge specifically, but these websites are like, yo, at the
I
very
mean,
least,
yeah.
let them open it up in our website so then they can see our ads. But Facebook is like, and
Well,
they
because most
probably got
people
their own
probably
monetization
wouldn't go
service.
back to Facebook after they read that article
Right.
Fine,
necessarily. They would, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
I never even paid that much attention to that. Like, because I will every now and I don't really read I don't really get my news from Facebook, so I don't necessarily click on a ton of the articles that come through my
Mhm.
feed like that. But I
Well,
guess now that I'm thinking about it, it's more I mainly do it for my local news, like the Philadelphia Inquirer is our newspaper here. So if I see a story in the Inquirer that I want to check out, I may go, click on it and read it. And I never even paid attention to the fact that I wasn't actually being redirected off the platform to the Inquirer's actual website. You just click and then you start scrolling and you read the article.
yeah. So
Ah,
it really gets on
you
my nerves.
sneaky sis.
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
So it really gets on my
Shout out
nerves
to
when I'm
Gen
in
Z, Gen X.
Instagram. Yeah.
Group of
So
people.
for instance, I am speaking of vacations, me and my wife are going on a vacation in middle of July. So I'm in the, shopping for clothes, shopping for travel and stuff. And surprisingly, I'll see something, a link to some swim trunks or some water shoes or whatever the case may be on Instagram. I'm like, oh, those look dope. Let me click on them. I click on them and then it'll open up in Instagram's
Well, yeah,
browser.
Instagram has Instagram shopping now. I have done that.
Well,
Yeah, you
well,
don't
not
have to
even
go off
that.
the site to buy stuff.
Right, but that's if the company or the website sets that up in Instagram rather, right? I'm just
Right.
talking about clicking on the link and I'm going to the company's website to buy the stuff and shop, but I'm still in Instagram and I can tell I'm still in Instagram because when I back out, now all of the ads that I see in Instagram are about water
Mhm.
shoes because Instagram has saw that I clicked on this ad and they've got their pixel. I think it's called a
Mhm.
pixel or
Mhm.
whatever.
Pixel.
Facebook Pixel. Mhm.
Facebook pixel, right? So now they know that I've clicked on this site, so I have some interest in it. I've clicked around on the Instagram browser thinking I'm in Safari, and now they're saying, "Oh, he must like this." So now the ad is doing this thing, and now all of the water shoe companies are now serving me ads every 2 or 3, links and stuff. So what I've tried to start doing is there's a setting, and you can probably do this in Facebook, but nobody does it, right? Going back to this article, is you click the 3 ellipses or the hamburger or whatever, and you get the option to open in system browser. If you
Mhm.
do that, then it opens
Go
up in
yeah.
the regular website, which is going back to this story. Most people ain't doing that. They clicking on the link, it
Well,
opens
because
up.
you do want that convenience. Nobody
It's
wants to have
convenient.
to go back
It's
to the app
convenient.
once they've clicked on something. So,
Right.
but so if that is the case, then Instagram and Meta should pay news organizations some money because
Right.
you're basically rebroadcasting content or so there should be some sort of licensing fee for
Mhm.
doing that. Like that, like, come on, Meta, like, stop playing. Y'all
Well,
know what y'all
when they did it in Australia, Meta basically said, "No, the price is too high." And what ended up happening, because they actually shut it down for right fast for a hot second. And what happened was that the traffic to those websites dropped off so precipitously that now you have the now you have the actual news organization saying, okay, so they're not sending us any traffic anymore. That's making it even worse for us.
And then
because at least they were getting some traffic, because there would be times when you'd be reading, or sometimes it's not even reading the entire article. That as news people, anymore, we don't really read the news. We read the headlines and maybe the first paragraph. Well, that's what you're getting in Facebook. You could still click through and go through to the actual article, and that would send traffic to those websites. Well, back when they did this in Australia, that traffic that no longer went to those websites literally is like, that's worse. Maybe we should renegotiate our terms. And they ended up working out a deal. So Facebook, yes, they are now paying for that. They're just not paying the price that the government said they were going to have to pay up front. And I wonder if something like that is going to happen, with Canada, because it's like, Facebook is saying, they said it with a country bigger than Canada that we're not going to do it. So with Canada, will they say, well, we're not going to do it with you either, and until these rates get better and more favorable for us, because we don't make that much money off of the news links.
Well, I was going to say real quick, also equally as responsible, shame on these news organizations for not evolving fast enough to figure out how to monetize their own content on their own websites outside of a bunch of ads that nobody likes to try to read the article through all the apps. They should have figured out long before Facebook took off. They're like, hey, we need to figure out how to subscribers, same way you had to pay $1 or a dime or however much it be to get the actual paper. I think they should have figured out a way to monetize faster versus saying, we'll just dump a bunch of ads on there. And then Facebook comes through and say, well, we'll just show you the link, the story, without even seeing all the ads. And then the news articles is like, shucks. Now,
well, I don't know that you can blame the media outlet specific. I don't know that subscription models are sustainable at all anymore. I just think there are way too many platforms out there. There's just too much content to consume to convince a person to pay for your content. You know what I mean? Especially if you're a new outlet. It just, media is just so hard to navigate anymore and monetize. So I think, the idea that this could be the option. I think this is the option. I just think Meta needs to come up off a little bit of that change, and I don't know necessarily that the government needs to get involved in this. I think this needs to be a negotiate, because in Canada it looks like this was as a result of a bill, an actual law that was passed.
Yeah, this is a law
that said that Meta has to pay these media outlets. I don't think the government needs to get involved in this conversation. I think the media outlets need to negotiate individually with Meta and other social media platforms for a rate that works for them, because I do think Meta needs to pay, because you're literally rebroadcasting somebody else's content for free. You're getting it for free and you're doing it for free. So they do need to pay, but that needs to be negotiated between the media platform and Meta. And I think it could be mutually beneficial for both of them if folk don't get too greedy.
If I were a betting person, I would bet that that's what actually ends up happening, because that's essentially what ended up happening in Australia and other countries that have implemented these type of rules. That is eventually what ended up happening in most cases. I will say this though. Yeah, I remember, I'm old enough to remember a time where news organizations were not profit leaders. They basically, if we can break even, we're doing good. It was really about reporting the news. It wasn't about trying to make as much money. That, I'm not trying to say, well, we need to go back in time, but it used to be that way until really like the cable news came on the scene. And now it's no longer just about reporting the news. Now it's about entertainment and what type of news do you want and all that kind of stuff. That's the world that we live in now.
Yeah.
So I can't say that I feel horrible for the news organizations, because you're right. You should have done what you needed to do to make sure that you were going to remain profitable. And these other companies, they're doing, Facebook is figuring out how it's going to make money. It's not Facebook's job to figure out how it's going to make money for you. And
but
so I do
Facebook
believe
also needs these media platforms. I mean,
Yeah,
they can
Yeah,
front like they not making that much money, quote unquote, or however they want to
we don't
nuance
create
that
content.
language to act
Yeah.
like they not
Right.
getting paid off this shit. They need these media companies for the content just as much as the media company needs Facebook as a platform for aggregated eyeballs. So it's like, stop being like that. Y'all both need each other. Figure this shit out, so that I don't have to navigate away from the platform to get my content. Like, come on, you know what I mean? Like, just
Yeah.
stop being ridiculous.
I think we're going to hear a follow-up story on this, to where, a deal has been struck.
Exactly.
Really, and that's what Facebook is doing. Is like, we gonna pay, but we're gonna negotiate publicly first. It's like
in the court of public opinion.
Exactly. So that's where this one's going. But y'all, this next story that I wanted to get into, I didn't think we would still be talking about Reddit. I think it was two weeks ago when I asked both of y'all, hey, was either one of y'all affected by the Reddit blackout? And y'all said no. I don't even know if we all knew that it was actually happening. I'd forgot that it was going to happen. But this thing turned out to be a much bigger deal than I think anyone thought it was going to be. First off, there are still subreddits that are down, that are still blacked out, or taken private, or here's the new thing that's coming in some of the news. Some of them have now allowed pornography, so that they basically can't be monetized any longer. So it's like, if you're not going to allow these other platforms to exist because of how much you're going to charge them for API access, we're going to make it so that you can't put any ads on any of the content in our very, very popular subreddit.
They didn't solicit pornography. Let's just be clear. They mark themselves not safe for work, NSFW. So when you do that, you allow for a certain type of content to be added to your subreddit, and it effectively makes it private, because to your point, you can't monetize ads and do other things like that. But it was just another tactic to get around the idea of not going private, or coming back from having gone private, and sort of caving a little bit to the CEO of Reddit, but still, finding that loophole to keep their content from being monetized. So
there are a couple of photo-based subreddits that John Oliver did a story on this a couple weeks back. So now what's happening here is that they're being flooded with pictures of John Oliver. And I mean, like, millions of pictures of John Oliver. So all you can see when you go now is just John Oliver, John Oliver, John Oliver. He's now arguably one of the most viewed people on Reddit. So it's just the moderators are coming up with ingenious ways to try to stick it to Reddit. And one of the things that happened last week, and I don't think Terrance and I talked about this, but their CEO, he's being real prickish about it. So, there's an application that, basically it's a Reddit tool. I believe it's iOS only. It's Apollo, I believe is the name of it. And the power users of Reddit almost all use this tool. So they are very, very invested in this tool, saying, the tool's owner saying, I can no longer, it just doesn't make financial sense for me to try to even work with these API prices. I'm going to shut the application down at the end of this month. So when you look at who is running Reddit, well, Reddit has, for a long time, they have actually been one of the most progressive on making sure that the end users have a lot of say of how things run on the platforms that the end users are using. So they've got all these moderators that are running all these subreddits, and they've got all these rules that they've created. Reddit has its layer of rules, and then the moderation teams can come in.
I don't understand about, because this situation sort of is kind of the opposite than the last situation, the meta situation, because I don't know where Reddit gets off trying to impose this level of cost and kind of unilaterally without actually taking the users concerns into consideration. I mean, Reddit is literally a fucking listserv. You know what I mean? And yes, you've created this platform, but you've done literally nothing to make
The
it user
moderators and the
friendly.
users.
Mhm.
They're basically your cloud storage at this point. You're literally
Yeah.
cloud storage at this point. And so the idea, yes, this is a company that should have been thinking about how they were going to make some money before they got to this point, because the idea that now you want to come after the fact and be like, all right, we got to make some money because we've never been profitable, so let's start charging these exorbitant prices for this API usage, is just without making the changes to your own platform, because Reddit has not announced any updates or upgrades or anything
Mm-mm.
else that would make it more Apollo like, so that people wouldn't need that service in the first place. They're not actually giving you anything. They're just saying, come here, have a shitty experience on our platform, because we're going to take away your ability to use this other service. And it's just like Reddit needs to fall back. And I feel like if I had a thread on Reddit or a forum on Reddit, I would take my shit dark too, just because of the principalities of the situation, because it's just like Reddit needs to really stop tripping and either make the capital investment in infrastructure to make their platform more user friendly, or work with, and I mean it seems like it's just this one guy who
It,
has one thing, but
it,
still
it isn't just Apollo and its creator, and I should look up who the who the
I'm
creator
sure
of
there's some other folks, you know
Apollo
what I
is.
mean? Some other companies that use that API, but Reddit is tripping. Reddit is really wilding and being obstinate for no reason. Because I'm sure there's other ways for them to make money besides trying to kill these services, for no reason.
Yeah, so there's what is it? Huffman, Steve Huffman, the CEO of Reddit. After the blackout, he just seems like he made it worse,
Oh, he's
because
losing his children.
it's
Yeah.
now it's like it's us against the moderators, and it's like you do realize that the moderators of these are they're the ones who are giving you the opportunity to generate this income. So it seems like it was an oversight that you didn't say, well, wait a minute, what is the one app that almost all of our moderators use? And Apollo. Okay, you've just now made our API access so expensive that Apollo can no longer exist. It seems like someone should have thought of that. But even if they didn't, instead of saying, you know what, we miscalculated, we're going to for these type of apps, we're going to give you a reprieve. We're going to give you a longer amount of time. We're going to figure out how you can put ads in your system so that we can still make monetization, from our standpoint. Or you could just went out and wrote a check to the, Apollo is a one-person app. This was one guy runs
Y'all
this
could have bought
application.
that shit
You could
10
have
years
bought
ago.
it.
Right.
You could have bought it 10 days ago. You could have bought it, you could have bought it when this was going down, and it would have alleviated a lot of what you are having. I don't want to say all of it because there's more than just Apollo, but Apollo is the app that that really is making the moderators hate it. So, I've said this before about Twitter. Twitter is too big for someone else to come and take Twitter over and overtake Twitter. They're just too big. They've got that kind of motion because of their size. It takes Twitter doing crazy stuff that gets people to stop using Twitter, not necessarily sending them somewhere else, but they're just not using Twitter anymore for Twitter to start having problems. And that's kind of where Reddit is. Reddit is too big for from some upstart to just say, oh, we're now the new Reddit. But Steve Huffman, man, you got to be careful with what you're doing, because you piss off all these moderators in the short term.
Because for what Reddit provides, it can't be that hard. And maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but I just don't know necessarily that it would be that difficult to create another Reddit. Based on the time I admittedly have not spent a ton of time on the platform, but I used to go on Reddit every now and again and look at, I had my little favorite threads or whatever, but based on what they provide, I don't know that it would be that difficult to recreate that platform and just tell everybody, yo, come through. The API is open and free, and have them migrate to a new platform. I mean, I know it's not something that could happen overnight. I'm sure I'm probably oversimplifying it, but to your point though, Rob, Twitter is a more complicated platform, more complex platform. Facebook is a complex platform. There's photo storage. There's more stuff going on there that those platforms offer to the end user that Reddit just does not offer. And I just feel like, like I said, they're like glorified
So,
cloud storage at this point.
so
And how hard could it be for somebody else to make one?
well, to copy the tech, not hard at all. To copy the community aspect,
Right.
darn near impossible. It literally would take years for someone to catch up.
Community aspect. Reddit is in and of itself, the name Reddit, to be a Reddit user or be a Reddit moderator or a power user.
The brand recognition,
there's some cachet that comes with
Right.
that. So, that would be, in my opinion, would be the tough thing to recreate. Is what else can you recreate to where somebody, they wear their little on their chest that they are a proud member of whatever the case may be. Yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about when I say the critical mass. Like, copying the tech is not the hard part. It's getting the tech right and getting the community aspect that was provided by the other platform to your platform with critical mass. We're not talking about you get 1.5 million or 2 million users. You got to get 100 million users, 200 million users over. That is darn difficult to do. At speed. You think about companies that have grown ridiculously like that. The only one that's coming to mind right now is TikTok. When you think about how fast TikTok has grown, you have to have those type of reasons. You have to have ByteDance type resources, literally hundreds of millions of dollars to throw at this app, marketing to get it in front of people. So it's just really interesting. I didn't think we would still be talking about this 2 weeks later. We are still talking about it 2 weeks later. And
I just thought it was interesting. The reason why I brought it back up was because they have kind of hooked John Oliver into it, and I'm a fan of John Oliver. I'm a fan of his show. I think it's called Last Week Tonight, or This Week. I forget the name of it. This Week Tonight, I think it's called, on HBO Max, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he does a good job of familiarize, like you said, Stephanie, explain it to me like I'm 5, right? He does a good job of doing
Very
that
good
on the show, and really more so than just regular media, he takes sides. Even more so, he'll actually join in on a protest, or he'll come up, or his team will come up with a creative way to draw attention to this, right? Because who outside of tech knows anything about Reddit, right? But if you're watching his show, you're a fan of him breaking down what's going on, what's at stake, yada yada yada, will get people who are not involved and make it very simple for them to even participate, right? So I thought it was funny. It's funny and sad, right? Because they know he gets involved in stuff like this. So they've got all these pictures of him, and according to the story, a lot of people are using him in hopes that he then makes a story out of this whole Reddit thing to get people involved, right? The problem with that is there's a big writer strike, and John Oliver ain't putting out no shows.
Ain't put out nothing
for the near
future, no one else,
right? So it's almost like, yeah, we want you involved, and he's kind of like, great, use my picture, but I really can't do
else for you, man.
Right, and then make matters worse, right? The protest that you're doing is drawing more attention, which is drawing more people to Reddit. Which may backfire when a traditional protest is you want people to stop using the product, stop using the service, but you're making it more popular by using images like John Oliver. I saw something to where they're putting a bunch of pictures of not Steve Jobs, Tim Cook, on the iPhone Reddits, and they're drawing attention, but at the same time, are they even also making Reddit more popular when really you just want to draw attention?
Reddit's
stop using it.
Reddit is seeing a spike in user subscriptions. or people signing up to Reddit because people are trying to go to Reddit to figure out what's going on with Reddit. So it really is interesting. And this is exactly the type of story that John Oliver would normally cover, which is hence why, the people, the moderators of these various subreddits know it's like, well, can you come and hook us up? Can you come help us out? This is probably one that he would, but they're not writing right now, so he can't do it. So it's like I said, this is a story that I was not expecting Steve Huffman to go the route that he's going. It's kind of like, no, I'm going to be more Elonish in how I'm dealing with these moderators. You're violating
involved.
our rules. We could just we could suspend you as a moderator, or maybe we'll introduce more democratic voting up of moderators and voting down of moderators if the public doesn't like it. And it's like, I think the people who are using these platforms are loving what the moderators are doing right now, because the power users are the ones who, like I said, there's more applications than just Apollo. But I'm just wondering why at some point didn't somebody say, let's go hire the developer that is creating Apollo. Let's make that an actual Reddit app. Let's throw some ads in it, give him, however many $1 million we need to buy the app from him, and then have him here so he can help us figure out how to put ads in it, and just keep putting out very, very cool apps for our platform.
Well, because like Stephanie said, they ain't doing nothing.
Yeah, so
they ain't doing nothing over there.
Ain't nothing. And because they got a bag of money thrown at them from the very beginning for doing very little, and they got comfortable, and now the ego done kicked in, and it's just they need to get it together though, because I think they're gonna, I don't know that Reddit loses this battle, but I think they come out of it damaged. They don't come out of it unscathed at all.
Like I said, when we initially talked about this 2 weeks ago, I said that I don't feel bad. I feel bad for Apollo and its users, but I don't feel terrible, because from a company standpoint, you had to know at some point that when you're just getting all of this data for free and you're doing all these things for free and you're charging people for it, at some point the company could say, well, shouldn't we, we need to work something out. What I was not expecting is that Reddit, seeing how the type of platform that it is, it's been, of all the social media platforms, it's been so pro user. It seems like, at least, that I just wasn't expecting them to go this route.
Expecting to be acquired.
Yeah,
that's why anybody in this valley does anything these days, is to be acquired. So I'm sure he was expecting that offer that has never come. So
anyway, this, like I said, it's a story that's not ended, so we'll probably talk about it again, coming up. I did want to talk about this article that I pulled out of CNBC about how the FTC is suing Amazon over deceptive Prime sign-up and cancellation processes. Now, do either of you have Amazon Prime accounts?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I have one as well, and I'm fairly happy with it. Now, I'm one of those people that I get something from Amazon probably twice a week. Just like regular stuff I order, I just order it through them. And I do know that there's a lot of stuff that you can get on like Walmart, or you can get on Costco, you can get at Target, and all these other big box retailers that now have very Amazon-like websites and do the same type of delivery that Amazon is doing for less expensive. But I still pay for that Amazon Prime account. But it looks like that, in this story is kind of ironic that it's coming out just a couple of weeks before Prime Day, because one of Amazon's biggest selling, events of the year is their Amazon Prime that they run in July. But like I said, they're getting sued by the FTC because what they're saying is that they're tricking people into signing up for Amazon accounts that they didn't know that they were signing up for, and then obfuscating the unsubscribe from Amazon, making it, from what these court filings are saying, they're making it very difficult for people to cancel their accounts.
Well, it's like what they do is, it's funny. I went to my Amazon account just to take a look. When you first get to Amazon, you can go to, my account, and it's fairly obvious If you there, there's a big button for Prime, and it's manage your membership, da 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 da. And there's definitely it it's fairly obvious for updating and canceling, but as you start going through that process, like it asks you like 4 or 5 different times, are you sure? And if you still want to do it, the thing you click to actually continue the cancellation process is tiny, but the thing you could click that you think you might be clicking to cancel the thing is huge. And it's like, no, take me back. And they do, they're very, very very shady. It's kind of shady. It's a little shady the way that they do. I mean, that first initial step to get to the cancellation part is obvious, but after that, you just on your own. And I know a lot of people, especially older people, might have a little trouble trying to figure out how to get out of that membership. Amazon a little shady.
Yeah, I mean it's not a surprise. Of course, Amazon, according to the story, is just dodging the FTC altogether, and they're saying, "Yeah, we ain't doing that. Nah, we get back at you."
But
and
you are.
FTC is like, "Finally, well, we just got to flat out sue you because y'all ain't gonna come to the table any other way." So, and it's like you mentioned, Rob, right around the time Amazon Prime Day is rolling around, so this may get some bad press to Amazon, right before
It's
there.
going to do the same thing that it did for Reddit. It's going to be a bunch of people signing up for Amazon. I like Wayne made some really good points. Real quick, Wayne said, "I have no issue with confirming you want to cancel, but having to click 16 times in order to cancel is problematic and definitely anti-user." And he also said, when you order without Prime, it's very easy to accidentally sign up for Prime, which is
so
very
that true. Yeah, that's another part of this as well. So like I said, I've never really tried to cancel my Amazon Prime account, but like you, Steph, I said, well, for the story, let me go see what it is. And it's like, okay, that was pretty easy. Oh wait, I got to click here too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, I got to click. Oh, there's a whole nother page I got to go to. Let me click on that. And then you're right. It's like the thing you can click on to remain is like H196 font. And the thing you click on to cancel is like down it's not even like in the bottom right or left corner. It's like kind of like
it's
towards the right. It is really
Mm-hmm.
little. It is like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to call it fine print because people are saying, well, that's not fine print. There's stuff that's smaller than that on the page. Yes, it is not the smallest thing on the page, but it's sure enough ain't the biggest. And it's like, well, how many times I got to click cancel on this? And I've always been this type of person. I'm not going to fight you to not give you money. I'm just going to go to my credit card and say, hey, I don't want this anymore. I can't figure out how to cancel it. Do it for me.
I'm the opposite route. It's like, oh, you gonna make this a game? Well,
right.
I got time today, and I'm about to win this game.
and because I don't want no discrepancies come next month when you still charging me, claiming I didn't go through this process correctly. I want to be able to have a confirmation page that comes up with a number or something else that says, yes, your account is now canceled. And it's just because you're not coming back around on me on a comeback, talking about I didn't click or the right thing or whatever. So yeah, Amazon is janky for this. They definitely are.
But we think Amazon and we automatically think about Kindles and think about buying stuff from them. But Amazon, they make their money in big data. So big data is what they do. So there is no question in my mind that when someone said, make it harder to unsubscribe, it's like, okay, so now it went from 2 pages to 3 pages or 2 clicks to 3 clicks. No, make it harder. Then it went from 3 to 4. A designer probably said, it's like, you're getting into like poor design. This is not really good UI. Somebody has to click on four times to cancel something. That's exactly what we want. Can you make it 5? Can you make it 6? Mm-hmm. And at some point, somebody said, they, like I said, I'm making this stuff up, but this is possibly conversations that could have had happened at Amazon. Well, let's see. If we keep doing this and we make it so hard, how many people don't cancel because they just never get through it?
Oh, they've checked.
There's no question that they don't have
that
as a number unless they had foresight. You know what? We probably don't want to keep this as a number because we could be subpoenaed on it if we end up going to court, which you're probably going to.
They have the number between getting people to just be like, forget it, I'll just keep it, and getting sued. I'm sure there's a number there. There are two different numbers there, and they are right dab in the middle of that number of, how many clicks does it take to get to the, bottom of a Tootsie Pop, and what's going to get us in trouble with the FTC, and right. Looks like they might have been tap dancing too far across that line and got caught up, but they absolutely know that number, and there is a number, there is a definitive number for that.
So it'll just be interesting to see what, when they end up settling this, because this doesn't seem like something they're going to fight. It seems like this is something that's going to be settled. If when they settle it, it was worth it. We made so much money by making people click 1,611 different links to get out of here, as compared to just giving them one or two.
And they're only going to go from 16 to 13 in the settlement. They're not going to go from 16 to 2. They're going to go from 16 to maybe 11. And you'll still get a bunch of people that say 11 is too much. I'm tired. I'm just going to keep it. I don't care. So they know what they're doing.
And just because we are somewhat of a news source to people, we're being facetious when we say 16 clicks. It's not that many. It's somewhere between 4 and 6. And Stephanie and I just did not try to get through the whole thing because we actually kind of like our Prime accounts. Like I said, I just came back from vacation. I had a whole stack of packages that my daughter brought into the front door for me. So, let's get to this next story here, where this one is, really interesting. Terrance, this is when you stuck in there, but there appears to be an inverse relationship between increased technology and decreased quality in cars. So JD Power and Associates sent out its 223 question battery organized into 9 vehicle categories. And with an exception of driving experience, which remained flat, every other category declines. And the major reasons for why users are not happy with their cars is all the buttons and all the lights and all the screens and all the infotainment systems, all the tech that is now going into every car is actually driving down people's evaluation of
and not only that, because that's understandable, right? The more tech anything gets, the more in depth it gets, the more possibly challenging it is to operate, right? Because you got to jump through screens, you got to jump through menus, you got to jump through subsystems, which, you look at your average smartphone nowadays, you can trying to find a particular setting, can be cumbersome, talking about flipping through screens and screens and screens and screens, right? Not even that on this story. It seems like as the technology of a electric vehicle, whatever the case may be, they add more technology. It seems like the product quality, the overall quality of the vehicle is going down. Like the ability to open the door, you think you just stick your hand in there, open the door. Now with these cars, they all smart. Now you got to press the little side of the corner of the door handle from the thing to pop out, and then you pull on that, and then that may break. And so it's almost like the actual thing that you think would be most important in a car is the quality, the build quality, the manufacturing quality, the life cycle of a vehicle seems to be going down as companies tend to add more technology into a car that they think we want. They think we want these big touch screens.
Well, that's what they're getting. That's what they're doing to mask the fact that it's a shitty build quality. Like you got a big ass screen, in the car, you don't realize it's made out of fiberglass and not steel, or whatever. And it's just like, that's the trade-off, I suppose, for, and I wouldn't even go so far as to say that technology cost as much as what they're giving up in build quality. I just think they feel like the lights and the, pretty lights and flashing things will distract you from the fact that you got a shitty car.
Yeah, there's a big part of they actually are not putting as much effort into building the quality of the car because they're putting so much into the technology of the car. And it's kind of like, well, you've got this nice 42-inch LED screen that has 120 nits of brightness and all these things,
And I can
and you're
use
going
my
to be
finger to
wowed
do the
by that.
volume up and down. It's like, man, you trying to do
But
all
you
that.
no longer have, you remember back when, what was the dude from Fantasy Island way back, Ricardo Montalban?
Mr. Rourke, yeah.
And he would talk about the fine Corinthian leather. I can't even remember what was that for. Was that for like a Lincoln or something like that? But I just remember him talking about the fine Corinthian hand stitched leather in a car. Well, you're not getting that anymore because instead of doing that, we're gonna put this $4,000 TV in your headset, in your headrest.
Got,
you
like,
can play Xbox
I don't know if it's
of.
in the Tesla or the BMW electric car. One of those electric cars has like 12 different engine sounds, so you can make your engine sound because it's electric, there's no engine, but you can make the acceleration sound. But there's like 12 or 20 of them or some ridiculous number of engine sounds, but the car is still made out of plastic. Like it's crazy. It just is crazy.
Yeah, the story I'm talking about, for example, right? You take your smartphone everywhere. A lot of people integrate CarPlay and Android Auto into their phones to where, as soon as you plug it up or do wireless or whatever, that becomes like the infotainment / navigation, right? But even as something as simple as charging your phone in these high-end tech vehicles is become more complicated because, now we're all used to wireless charging, right? You put your phone down on the pad and it automatically charges, right? Well, with these high-tech vehicles, something as simple as charging your phone is now complicated to where, the location where to put it is complicated. You got to put it in like a little slot,
and you got to have
put it
it
in the right.
Just so my sister's Tesla, like trying to do her wireless charging, it's just a pain in the like everything about that car is a pain in the ass to me. It just is. It may just be me, but like literally everything about that car, like I can appreciate, the pickup. That's pretty much it. The idea that I can put a pinky toe on that gas pedal and that thing is, about to launch, is the only redeeming quality of that vehicle that I can see. But everything else, I can't stand it. I can't stand it.
So I know you don't be on Twitter like that anymore, but you actually had quite a few folks who are agreeing with you, Steph, about it can't take 15 minutes to half hour to charge your car up. 5 minutes. That's what you get. I say I give you 5 minutes to charge up. 5 minutes. So folks was like, I agree. Like multiple people said they agreed with you on that. So I know you weren't here last week, so I want to make sure I give you that that bit of news. But this is a problem. Like I don't think I've even mentioned this. I'm kind of lightweight waiting for this Escalade to come out next year. Escalade
tell
IQ.
us more about this, Rob. You haven't said that before.
I know you only talk about it every chance.
I'm just saying it's like, but here's what I can say about an Escalade. It is the best SUV I've ever been. I've been in many different SUVs. Now I'm not saying it like you get like a Maybach SUV or something like that. It's that level. But as far as like, let's just call them regular cars, regular cars off a lot that you can get, the Escalade, as far as SUVs, in my opinion, is the best one I've ever seen. As far as just all the little things they put into making that thing cost what it cost over a Yukon Denali, which is also a really, really nice SUV. But will this be an issue for it with the IQ? They've got all these screens, they've got all this additional tech. We've already talked about it a couple weeks ago.
I don't know
that it's going to cost way more because of all the additional tech. Does that mean that they're going to still do the same quality on the bill?
I don't see Cadillac in particular sacrificing build quality. Like, I think you could look at some other brands and say that, but I don't see. I mean, that is what you are paying for when you buy a Cadillac. You're paying for quality, high quality build quality, basically. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't see them giving that up just for a screen or two.
Yeah, it's going to be this. Like I said, I hadn't heard this before, but Terrance, when you link to the story, I was like, oh, let me go read through this and see some of the supporting stuff. And it's like, I mean, people are not happy with the build quality on these cars at
Yeah,
all
and
since 2021,
and
20,
again,
2020.
I don't know what do they call those things with agreement bring in a group of people and
Focus
they
group.
focus groups. I don't know what focus groups they've been bringing in, but I don't see too many people being like, yes, this is the most technologically advanced car that I can afford, but they're always in the shop because the up and down window button keeps breaking off. It's like eventually people are going to know it's this little things, right, that annoy people
Hmm.
in general.
Hmm.
So if I'm paying upwards 70, $80,000 for this high end, not necessarily just high end, just high tech, right? Because all these cars are coming out with all these new features, the lane departure and the proximity,
Right.
what do you call it, the cruise
Detector.
control,
Yeah.
adaptive cruise control. You got all these technological bells and whistles, but if the window don't roll up and down, people are going to notice that immediately, and they're immediately
Immediately.
going to say this car is a piece of crap, regardless of how much tech you put in it. So I don't know what these companies are doing as far as deciding how state of the art the tech is going to be, but then when it comes to the
Versus.
build
Yeah.
quality, they're like, eh.
We can let that go. Yeah, it is. You wonder. And it's just like, I don't know.
So, real quick, and I'm doing an audible here. This is not one of our main stories, but one of our, one of our followers, someone who was in our, in our Discord group, actually linked to a story about legacy media companies. And this is the title of the article: is legacy media companies enter dark times as failures mount and Netflix rises again. And to make a long story short, basically what's happened is that we've talked about this many times on the show. Netflix has been taking an L like all of 2020, 2021, into 2022. And then we started to hear the things about, oh, they're going to start forcing people to get their own accounts. That password sharing is going to no longer be a thing. And we thought, okay, this can go one of two ways. It can either be horribly bad for Netflix, or it can be kind of all right for Netflix. It turns out that this is kind of being all right, because I think what a lot of people didn't anticipate was that there was going to be a lot of folks who were going to go out and sign Netflix accounts because they enjoy Netflix. I've always been one of those ones who I've said that I'm not going to cancel my Netflix account just because my cousin or my brother or my friend can no longer mooch off my account. I'm not, I still enjoy it. The fact that they got to go get an account is not adversely affecting me. There are a lot of people who are saying, well, if I can't share it with my sister, then I'm going to cancel. And I didn't think that was going to happen. So I think two things have happened. People who had Netflix kept Netflix, and then people who had Netflix but now don't have it because they're sharing a password, they went out and got Netflix. So Netflix has actually seen this year 5 straight months where their stock price has been going up. But everybody else is kind of going down. And it's one of the things, we've talked about this multiple times on this show, but content is expensive when you have to have HBO Max, and you have to have Paramount Plus, and you have to have Peacock, and you have to have Cinemax, because it is HBO Max, and you have to have all these different services, and you have to have Hulu Plus, or you have to have
It's too much.
YouTube. It's just too much when
It's
you have
more than
all these
cable.
different. It's more than cable. And there's just so much choice out there to where a lot of people are now kind of getting like, when you go in, all you wanted was jelly, and you're standing in the Smucker's aisle and you can't make a decision. I don't want none of it. So I just cancel everything. And I've said this many times. If I have a spreadsheet, if I don't use a service for 30 days, I cancel it. So Peacock is getting it, unless I use it between now and the 30th of the month, it's going to be out of here because I haven't watched anything. Last thing I watched on it was Mrs. Davis, I think it is. I think I've only watched 4 episodes of that. I just kind of fell off.
Over because I mean, I pay for my own Netflix, and I have some sharers who probably got kicked off because the last time I actually got on Netflix, a screen popped up and asked about sharing or something. I was like, it's my account, so I don't care. And
Real
then
quick, before you hold that thought, I've always wondered, as the owner of the account, and somebody is using your account and they run into problems.
Mhm.
Tell me how that process is of somebody reaching out to you. Are they like,
I
hey, Steph,
nobody has said anything yet. Like
Mm,
it's like my brother. My brother and
mhm,
I think my sister might have my login too. They've not sent anything to me yet. I don't know that either one of them watches that much television, so maybe they don't quite know that, hey, Netflix is looking at the, IP address and knows that you're not in the same household or something. They might not have gotten that notification. Netflix may not have gotten to me particularly to do it. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not really, I don't really care. Just like it is what it is because I'm keeping my Netflix. And then I have Max because I still have cable. And that's because my mother lives with me and she is not having cable. So I still have cable. So I get Max free because I have HBO in my cable. So those are the only two services that I actually pay for. The rest of them I could take or leave. I mean, I like Peacock, but I don't need it. I got Prime because I use Prime for a bunch of other stuff. So I got, Prime as well. But if the rest of those went away tomorrow, if my Peacock or my Disney Plus or my Hulu went away tomorrow, I would not miss them at all. So I'm just like, shout out to my family members that
Yeah,
are mooching off my off my Netflix. Y'all might need to make some alternate arrangements sooner rather
mhm.
than later, but yeah,
I
it is
had
what it
my brother using Netflix. We have not had a conversation about it. It was like one of the things where, hey, you might have to start paying for it. Like, well, he's like, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
is.
And
Yeah.
we've never talked about it again. And you know what? I'm not worried about it. I literally could care less. If I don't know what the options are for him, I'm not researching the options for him. I literally do not care. It'd be like, I guess when you come to the crib, you watch as much Netflix as you want. I got multiple TVs, go watch it wherever you like. But if it's not working at your house, I just don't know what to do. And I
Right. I
think a
was gonna
lot of
tell you.
people, I think, like I said, I think we heard a vocal minority of folks are saying, well, if I can't share it with my kids, then I'm canceling. If I can't share it with my brother, then I'm canceling. I
Squeaky
just don't
wheel.
think that was a lot of people who did that. So Netflix is once again doing pretty well. That stock price has been shooting up, pretty much the entire year, and everyone else is, is struggling.
Well,
The other thing is,
well, is that a? I mean, of course, money talks, right? And Netflix shares going up is a indication that Netflix shares are going up. But is that a good indication of customer sentiment about Netflix? Because sure, they put out content, and they put out content that we talk about on social media. But then when you add in all the password sharing things that they're about to clamp down on, is this a false positive? This Netflix shares going up when
so
we in general, the consumers, kind of like, I don't know, I may have to cancel my Netflix within the next 6 months if they tripping like this.
I think a big part of the problem for Netflix is that how many more people could they get to sign up for Netflix? If in the case of like Stephanie and I's family members, if they were always getting it for free from us, why would they ever sign up for their own account? So Netflix is running to people are watching Netflix. People are still kind of enjoy Netflix, but Netflix can't make any more money because they've run out of people on earth to have sign up for Netflix. But with the password sharing going away, there literally are millions of new people who they already know like Netflix because they've been using, these shared passwords for years with Netflix. And now they are, well, I still like Netflix. I still want to watch all the, I saw an article today that said that 25% of all Netflix account holders have watched a K film or a K show. It's basically something from Korea. And it's like, oh, so like the
Oh,
Korean
K-pop.
content is
Is
actually,
that what you're talking
yeah.
about?
I'm sorry.
Mhm.
You said K, like Korean.
Yeah, Korean.
Mhm.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, Korean content. So so they know that. So it's like, I'm thinking, yeah, some of those shows are actually pretty good. Some of the action shows, I really have liked them and enjoyed them. I'm not giving that up. I actually enjoy that content. I'm going to continue to watch it. And I think what has happened for Netflix, their bet was, I think there's a lot of people who are on shared passwords that they like that content too, and they would be willing to sign up an account as compared to lose it. So that's
I
where
would
their
get
numbers are
like
going up from.
the $7.99 a month. Okay, like if I was the one that had been using somebody else's password and Netflix was like, you got to get off. I like Netflix's content enough, I think, that I
Right.
would probably get, the cheapest, the lowest tier subscription for Netflix. I would probably do that.
Here's where the other content creators, or I should say the streaming platforms, are having issue. If they don't have massive catalogs, they're getting crushed by new content is not coming to those platforms anytime soon because there's a writer strike. So they're already starting to suffer because they're not signing up and keeping enough people. Like I said, I would have canceled Disney. In fact, I did cancel Disney. I signed back up for it because it's easy to do. And there's a new Marvel show on there, the one that's starring Samuel Jackson. I'm watching that now. So I re-signed back up so that I specifically could watch this one show. And I think a lot of people are like me. There's not enough content on Disney Plus that I enjoy outside of the things that I want to watch that are new. And if they run into, 6 months from now, a year from now, there's no content because there was a writer's strike, then my 1 month, 2 month, 3 month hiatus from some of these platforms that I'm not willing to pay the $5 or $6 or however much a month it costs to keep them, that may turn into 6 months, half a year. I guess that's the same thing. 6 months, a year and a half. I may never go back. They have some issues because people are canceling them anyway because of cost. And now people may start canceling because, there's no new stuff on there. I don't need to watch it. It's like, I can only watch Star Wars so many times. I can only watch Endgame so many times. I don't need to have an account so I can go watch it whenever I want. So, y'all, that was a full show. I'm looking here. We've crossed the top of the hour. And we did not have a spotlight this week. I think we will have one next week. We also did not have any new patrons this week or any new raises this week. So I will just remind everybody that if you would like to support the Tech Jawn, the best way to do that is to head over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/the Tech Jawn. That is the Tech JAWN. And any one of those tiers, helps us bring this content to you the way that we bring it to you. So we much appreciate anyone who has signed up or is planning on signing up, for doing us that solid. So with that being said, Tech Life Steph, why don't you go ahead and tell the folks how they can get at you?
You can follow me all around the web at Tech Life Steph or check out my website at stephaniehumphrey.com.
And you can find me all over the internets at Brother Tech. That's BROTHATECH.
And we are on all the things at the Tech Jawn, the Tech JAWN. And I am also on all the things at Robb Dunewood. So come check us out. Holla at us however you holla. Till we meet again in a week's time. Peace.
Peace.